really going to make it's just going to be a private video shared with
it's just for the...
This is Laurel, this is Mickey's mom. I don't know if you guys met. This is Matthew's
briefly,
sister.
yeah.
And so Mickey's the buyer. She's a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
And she's got to work, so
And
anyway.
your dad is the one who would normally
Sure.
ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And I will not have any problem.
Sure. Yeah, so we'll go over as much as we can. I mean, there's going to be a lot in the report. A lot of it's going to be some cosmetic stuff, but I do kind of want to touch on some major points, a few things that we did find. Before we get going, is there anything in particular that you want me to chat about before I get into my spiel? Anything that has any concern or anything you'd like
Well,
to
I
explain?
think you're going to touch on the concerns we know about.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And are you familiar with our company? And I know these ladies are really familiar with this, but are you familiar with kind of what we do? Okay. So again, like I mentioned, the report's going to be pretty long, but the report is going to be kind of sectioned into 4 different sections. So major issues, anything that has bearing on health, safety, sanitation of the home or its occupants that would estimate to be about $1,000 or more to remedy. So our lesser issues would be the next category. That would be the kind of same emphasis on health, safety, sanitation, but less than $1,000, so $999 or less. Those can range anywhere from missing cover plates and that sort of thing. Next is going to be cosmetics. Those are your nicks, dings, scratches, things like that come with a nice lived-in home. And then FYIs. So those are going to be kind of just for your information, anything that might be peculiar about the property that we just want to bring to your attention. Location of the water shut-off valve, that sort of stuff. Next, kind of the bonus section is going to be our descriptives. So that's going to be all your major components, make, model, serial number, and those locations for those two. So with that, what you get with us is you do get 1 hour free of my time. So if there's anything that you do decide to have fixed during the course of negotiations or even after the fact of the purchase, we can come back for 1 hour to make sure everything is looking good. So it's done to our standards. And that stays with the life of the property. So as long as we live here, you live here, that sticks with the property for you. So even if you don't use it right away, just call the office and say, hey, I had something replaced. You can come out and take a look at it. We'd be happy to do so. We also don't charge for phone time. So if you're looking at getting quotes for doing different things around the house, give us a call and we can kind of give you an idea if that sounds correct in terms of pricing, workmen, that sort of stuff. So we're also going to kind of get the benefit of our preferred vendors list along with Stacy's as well. So you'll have plenty to choose from folks that we deemed reliable to do work for us. So.
For like just general repairs or plumbing or
everything,
all that. Okay.
Yeah. So we've been AAD. We've been doing business for about 30 years. So one of the things that kind of help us is we offer those free re-inspects. So what we get the benefit of is we have someone come out and do work. We know what it looked like beforehand, and then we know what it looks like afterwards, and we have an idea who does a good job and who doesn't based on those re-inspects. So. We don't get paid for that by them to do anything. It's based on our client feedback to us, who makes it on that list. And if we have clients who particularly have problems with it, then they get kicked off the list. So it's a dog-eat-dog world on that list.
Yeah. Let me move this out of your way.
Anyway, so a few things to kind of touch upon. Overall, the house is 20 years old or so. I think it's in great condition. I've not seen a ton of nicks, stings, scratches and stuff, so it kind of tells me that they take pretty good care of the house. A few things that we did note, you do have some cracking of the concrete up front, which is a cosmetic issue that happens as it cures, it'll crack. Some other things that we did note, I was noticing at the front here, on the top of the roof, there's a piece of flashing that's called a kicker flashing. And what that does is that kicks the water away from the house to keep it from running down your siding. And right here above the doorway there, you are missing a bit of kicker flashing. And above the trim on the door on the exterior, it looks like they tried sealing it up with some caulking. And if you take a look at the window jamb on the bottom right there, it looks like there may have been some water going on. So the ultimate fix for that is get some kicker flashing installed there. It does look like they've kind of sealed it up there, but that problem will persist over time unless we get a piece of that kicker flashing put in there for you. So. That one's a pretty simple fix, but it is pretty important, especially with the vinyl siding. It does tend to allow things in between with those seams. So the waste pipe boots up on your roof. So those plastic pipes that come up, they're connected to your plumbing system there, and that just lets it vent and not allow vacuums to happen in there. There's a collar around them. It's usually made of rubber of some sort. And over time, those do have a tendency to kind of crack and get brittle and start having holes. So there were about 5 of them up there that I counted that looked like they were in that process of cracking. In a previous life, I did roofing inspections. So what folks don't realize is those pipe boots generally want to be changed out about every 10 years or so. Even though roofs, now architectural roofs are a 30 to 35 year roof. So that means you're going to probably have to go up there and replace those from time to time. The roof, though, it is a 3-tab roof, so it's a little bit older. It appears to be, it has a single course on there, so it appears to be the original roof with the house. It looks to be in good shape for its age. Those generally have a 20 to 25 year life expectancy. We're hitting on that 20-year lifespan. So as you're planning, saving and whatnot for those repairs that come with that home ownership, the roof might be time about 5 years or so to have that replaced.
But it's one level, or it's one of those you could put over the top.
So you can, yep. So you can do another layer on top there. Architectural shingles, which is the newer shingle type that they're replacing the 3-tab with nowadays, they generally don't do bad, but it's not an ideal situation with those. With how those are a multi-layer shingle already, they do have a tendency to cup and curl as that ages if they're on a second layer. So it's acceptable to do county-wise, code-wise. You can have up to 3 layers on a roof, so it's definitely acceptable.
2.
2. So if you decide to do that, you can have 2 with a 3rd.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Per homeowner? Is that what it is?
No.
So it's just 2 layers and then a 3rd one. Why would you be able to get a 3rd one? Is that
Sorry, no, you're right.
It's 2.
Correct.
It's 2.
Yeah.
That's what I
okay?
thought. We just re-roofed, so, but all good.
Don't worry, we'll keep you on track, whether you want us to or not.
Oh, I want
Anyway,
you to.
moving right
I want you
along,
to.
we can get another layer of roofs if we want, or we can
Yep.
replace and do a tear-off. A tear-off is more expensive. However, then you've got a fresh start. And I bet if I had to guess, I'd given Mickey some napkin numbers. It's hard to know with pricing, but if she just did a recover, I would imagine it would be $5,000-6,000 for a house this size here.
That sounds reasonable. Again, with labor changing and
Yeah.
supplies and that sort of stuff, it's definitely something we want to get an up to date.
Sorry, guys. That's nice and loud.
All right, and so kind of the kind of thing I think we're all kind of alluding to is I did find some water in that crawl space. It is pretty deep as you go to the south and the west. Out through here, there are 2 crawl space vents that are out here, and there are sprinklers close to each one. On the inside, it does appear that there's been some water leaking on the end, getting inside or gaining access to that crawl space over time. Though it's currently dry, which is a little peculiar. Those water streaks, you could tell that they were there at some point in time. However, they're currently dry. So I'm not sure if it's a consistent or persistent issue that the water is gaining access through here, or if it's one of those that happens slowly over time and that water just hasn't had the ability to
Or just the
evaporate and dry
sprinkler
out.
hasn't been on in a long time.
It's
too?
true, that could happen, but over time that we should see some of that water
Yeah.
evaporating off.
Okay.
Let's see here, it might be easier.
So not sure really what's causing
So-
it.
What we want to do is we probably want to see some of these sprinklers kick on to see where exactly those sprinkler heads are spraying to. I did note that there is a damaged sprinkler head on this left side of the house. So it might not be wise to run the sprinklers until that gets fixed, because it looks like it's shooting up pretty good because of the soil and the grass around the side are eroding away.
Okay.
I did have the benefit. The tree pruning contractor guy came by while I was doing my exterior. He did take a look at the tree. He said it's probably needs to be removed, just simply
Outline.
because he said those particular type of trees, they do, when they come down, they're pretty heavy. And then he did note that there is a crack in the, or a split in the base of it. So it sounds like, I mean, I'm going to obviously defer to him on his recommendations on
Sure.
what to do with that, but it sounds like he's recommending that.
That's the one I was mentioning. I had a proposal for that he quoted us on. Yeah, so I'll email that to you guys.
Good job getting that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, definitely.
Can we go back to the crawl space water?
Certainly.
Were you thinking that the water was coming in the actual vent that was near the sprinkler head, or were the stains
It
everywhere?
No, it was limited to these two vents on this side.
And the stains are just running down beneath the vent.
Yeah, and so you have the kind of the trickier part, to add another layer of complexity to it, is you have insulation around the perimeter of the foundation. So without kind of just ripping that insulation out, but you can tell that this is right below that vent. It's this first vent right here. So I went and kind of touched it. It doesn't look to be actively wet, but you can definitely tell that there's been water seeping through, and it's kind of all along here.
Okay, but not other places besides for by the vents.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the other kind of peculiar thing, is you can look along that footing and see if there's water that's either seeping through either through the cold joint or actually through the vent itself. This appears to be coming through the vent itself.
We've had tons of rain. Is it unlikely that?
So there are some areas that have some negative grading, meaning that it kind of slopes a bit towards the house, but it's not substantial enough that I would think that it's allowing water to back into the house. My educated guess would be that it's coming through these sprinklers through here.
And those are by the primary suite. That's the
Yep.
primary. And then the other area with the damaged head, where's that located?
It's going to be just outside this, actually right behind the bathroom.
Outside the bathroom?
Yep.
Okay. And that was where the water was significant in the crawl?
It wasn't so much right there now.
Oh,
It was
okay.
on the southwest side through here. So as you kind of cut your way across the crawl space through here, the water gradually gets a bit deeper, ultimately to about an inch of water on this far side over here. And it's pretty dry, close to the kitchen here and then underneath this bathroom.
And the crawl access was where?
In the bedroom right near the closet.
Okay, the front left,
Yeah.
the front left bedroom. Okay, and so you're thinking that source of that water there is that it just traveled there, but it came from.
The water it would come from these sprinklers right through here.
Okay.
Right. So right outside that window, there are two vents that the water is.
Okay, so that's the source of the pool. The damaged head.
Yeah,
Isn't.
so
Sorry, you
no.
kind of said that. I'm just trying to make sure I really
No,
get it in
so
my brain.
you kind of connect all the dots, put everything together. The water is deepest on this side of the house where those sprinkler heads are located, where that vent that indicates that water that's getting in there. So kind
Okay.
of put it all together is the water's deepest here, and I suspect is coming in through here, which would make sense because it's drier over here, and I didn't see any indication of water coming in through the vents that way. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Would you recommend doing an inspection with sprinklers, or do you have a pretty decent feel that that's exactly what's causing?
I mean, it never hurts to be doubly sure.
Yeah.
But kind of all the pieces that kind of come together on the clues for that issue are all pointing to that
Those
this is
sprinkler
what
heads.
this is an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always have a landscaping company come out and take a look
Sure.
at it, or fix that head and do something different with the sprinklers on this front side.
Mhm.
Whether it be move those sprinklers out to the outside of that curbing, and then you can always run like drip lines to the rose bushes that are up front
Sure.
here so that they can stay watered.
Stay hydrated, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's a good point. So really, what good question and good answer. So really, we just need to not use the sprinklers and get them addressed.
Yeah, and the good news is I didn't find any microbial growth down there. I went and pulled back the insulation at various areas in the crawl space to see, because anytime you have water, moisture, that's always a concern. I did not find any indication indications of microbial growth down there currently. Obviously, that's something we probably want to get taken care of and mitigated before something else happens. But yeah, getting the water out, getting the problem fixed first, and then getting that water out is probably going to be a good course of action.
Okay, good course of action, yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
As far as anything in the attic space, other than the bumper pipe boots, you didn't find anything like as far as ventilation problems or mold related?
Nope, so
or-
no biogrowth indications
good.
up there. You
Great.
did have a good, you had actually quite a bit of insulation. It's pink blown in fiberglass insulation, about 18 inches, which
Right.
for this area of house is actually really good. Usually it's about 14 to 16, so you got a couple extra inches of insulation up there. It is not insulated over the garage, which is not uncommon.
Typical,
It's
yeah.
pretty common. And then the dormer on this side over the door is not insulated, which again is not uncommon. But other than that, you have insulated ducting throughout up top there, which is looks to be all well connected. There's no
Wonderful.
missing vents, disconnected vents or anything, so they're all attached to where they need to be. So yeah, attic looks good.
Any other things to recap?
Oh man, didn't know that there was going to be a test later.
You've been great.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Let's,
you're very thorough.
I mean, and you don't have to go through all the little issues, but anything
Yeah.
else that, you notice, like particularly that if you were buying this home, you would think,
Sure.
okay,
I
I'm
wanna
gonna need to
know
fix
this.
this, or I would even potentially need it fixed before I bought it, just so we can get a jump start on bids, or
Yeah.
figuring out our plan, because the buyer's gonna have 3 choices: to accept, reject, or make requests.
Yeah.
If there's active water in a crawl, we're gonna wanna request that to be handled. And then if we request roofing stuff, that would be next on my list so far, besides for the crawl
Water,
and the
yep.
sprinkler related things.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of on the same page. That's kind of where I would put the emphasis on those
Okay.
issues, is getting that water taken care of in the crawl space. And what goes hand in hand with that is taking care of those sprinklers.
Okay.
The next, I'd probably be looking at that roof, especially that kicker flashing,
Mhm,
simply
mhm.
because we do have indications that at one point in time there was some damage. They fixed it, again, with it being behind a wall, it's tough to tell what's active and what's not back there. But
And then if you've got a roofer coming anyway to do the deflashing, we might as well say
Sure.
hit those pipe boots while you're up there.
yeah, and putting in that kicker flashing is not difficult to do. It doesn't take very long, and then those pipe boots again, they're a pretty simple, quick fix. And this is the photo of that sprinkler head on that far
Oh,
side.
okay.
So it's bored up on that far side. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't look like it's not a replacement, like they went in and fixed it. It looks like it's spraying out because all the grass is laid, like
Mhm.
it's being pushed out.
Okay, and so those sprinklers are actively on too, which
It
if they
appears
weren't,
so.
that would be weird having water in the crawl at
Yeah,
this point.
yeah.
So good. That was one of my questions, if they were on.
But everything else that I have on here, there's going to be some cosmetic stuff.
Okay.
Just the normal stuff that comes with a 20-year-old house. Actually, this one is in pretty good shape. I did note, it's not an issue, but I did want to just bring to your attention that the retaining wall between your
Oh,
back
sure.
neighbors and that fence, it is pushing up against it. I don't suspect it being a structural issue. It's far enough away from the house that even if it fell down, it's going to be fine. It just might not make for very good back neighbors,
Sure.
But so I'll put that in the report just as an FYI. That way, we're aware of it. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that one of the. I'm not sure what's going on. It's on your garage door, there's a bracer bar that goes and picks up the whole door, and typically they are mounted either to the top brace, but they can be mounted to this panel. But I'm not sure why they decided to use a whole lot of caulking to fill it in. It does look like they've re-secured it in a couple spots because these look like newer.
Maybe just for drafting? Would it be like they were sealing up like the holes in it? Like they were getting too much air coming in?
It's
possible?
It's
now?
possible. I mean, it's just peculiar. You know, some folks do things the way they like to do them.
Sure.
And, you know, for some folks, they just like using a lot of cold when they're repairing stuff.
They forgot
So,
to bring a rag or something.
yeah, and but I tested the door. It goes up and down just fine.
Okay.
You know, I tested the you know, the emergency stop reverse, and it worked fine. So there wasn't any loud clanks or anything like that coming from it when we tested it. So it appears to be secured correctly. It's probably a you know, a peculiar thing, maybe a taste thing that, you know, there's a lot of coke going on. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but it appears to be secured well. So
Good,
Well,
thank
great
you.
recap, Matt.
thank you.
Hey,